My name's Tracey, and I have 6 children, 5 girls and 1 boy. The youngest is Lacey, she's 5. The oldest is Tyra, 18, and my little twins are 7. Since 2013, we all lived in our 4-bed corner house in the Lakes in Chester, and I worked hard as a cleaner. My house was gorgeous. We had natural wood floor, sanded and varnished. We made it like an old Victorian home. It was our family home. In 2014, I was hit with the benefit cap. Lacey, my youngest, was born in September 2013, and for 5 months we wasn't hit by the cap. But then within 1 week, my housing benefit was stopped and I had to start paying full rent. As my rent arrears increased, social care became involved. They were concerned that I couldn't provide a roof over my head due to rent arrears caused by the benefit cap. I was really honest with social services and explained to them that I found money management very difficult. They referred me to Cheshire Neighbours Credit Union for a jam jar account. For a while it worked. However, when their internet was down for a couple of weeks, my rent was held back, as was my weekly money, and this resulted in more arrears, so I went back to managing my money myself. Over the coming months, I just about managed to scrape together the rent, but no way could I manage the arrears on top of that. Since the benefit cap, my money was half of what it used to be. I also lost my job due to a serious spinal nerve injury and therefore lost working tax as well as my wage. We were living hand to mouth. Some days I had to choose whether to pay for gas or to put food on the table. I would always make sure the children had something to eat. I got a letter 5 weeks before the eviction from the housing officer to say he had put a referral into social care and for futures. This has not happened, which has now been confirmed to me. However, it was me that voluntarily referred my family to social care because of the housing problem. Housing advised me to go to court and that I should try to pay off some of the arrears. I was not told I could have a solicitor, so went to court representing myself. On the 15th of August 2018, I had paid £50 for an appointment for the following day to suspend the eviction. The bailiff had advised me that she had 23 evictions that week and all of them had been overturned. I felt reassured, especially after the conversation with the housing officer. On the 16th of August 2018, I went to court on my own. The children were with my eldest child, Tyra, who was then 17. The judge asked me how I was going to pay the rent arrears, but I could only tell him how I could pay the rent. Not sure it makes sense. When I told the judge that I was thinking of doing a debt relief order, they responded by telling me this is the easy option, and that was a drain on society. The judge then said, eviction still stands, send the bailiffs. At 11:30 on the date of the eviction, it was 11:30 and the eviction was due at 1:15. I asked the housing officer for a lift home so I could quickly get some personal belongings for my kids together, but she refused. I rang my eldest daughter to tell her about the house, and we all went and stayed at my friend's that night. The following day we had to go and stay with another friend. I didn't know what to tell the kids, so I just told them I'd lost the key. For days and weeks afterwards, they would ask me where the key was. How would you tell your kids that their home's no longer their home? A week later, I went to the house with the housing officer. Cages all over the doors and windows to stop me from going in, so they all had to be taken off. The housing officer was quite compassionate then and said I had as much time as I needed to collect my things. I gave me dryer, washing machine and other furniture to some of my old neighbours. I was told my other possessions would be put in storage. I didn't realise my things had been stored in an old garage. This meant everything was ruined, including all the kids' bunk beds and all their toys. We stayed at my friend's for 3 weeks. My oldest child, Tyra, who was an apprentice, used her month's wages, and I got as much money as I could together, and we scraped £1,200 together for a deposit for a house in Saltney. We saw the advert in a Facebook page called Homes to Let, and we got asked for ID such as birth certificate and photo ID. We negotiated a deduction in the rent, so we felt like this was a legitimate opportunity. We asked them for the bank details so we could send over the deposit. We then spoke to the agency who were advertising the house. They informed us that the house had already been let and it looked like we'd been scammed. We were in a desperate situation, so maybe I wasn't as cautious as I should have been. We had deposited the money into a Halifax account, and when we spoke to the Halifax, they said to us, you might as well have handed them the money in cash. The deposit had been transferred to an overseas account, and the bank couldn't track where the money had gone. A police officer was kind enough to call the bank and ask them about their insurance policy for situations like this. He explained that I was homeless, however, nothing could be done. We'd been so excited about the thought of having our own home again that this disastrous outcome made us feel like we had reached the lowest point. I contacted Housing Solutions and they said the only place for us to go was Liverpool Lodge, a bed and breakfast in Liverpool. We packed up and moved to Liverpool that night. My children were due to start back at school from the summer holidays the next day. I wanted them to be able to continue in education, as it was Lacey's first day of primary school and Tori's first day of high school. I tried to explain that I needed to keep my children in the local area for their school, but was told by Housing Options and Social Care that education was not a priority at this time. There were no cooking facilities at the B&B. It was the only lived-in building in the whole street. All the other houses were boarded up, and we had to stay there for 3 to 4 weeks. And my children didn't go to school for this time. There would often be sex workers outside, and when the children weren't around, I would chat with the women and discovered that their situations were just like mine. Tax Credit sent a letter to our old house on the Lake, but because the letterbox was caged, it got returned, which resulted in all my money getting stopped. Tara needed money for travel to get to her apprenticeship, and I needed money to feed my children. I asked Social Care, who gave me 30 quid and a food bank voucher, which wasn't very helpful as we didn't have anything to cook with. We lived on chips for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks of misery in the B&B, I got good news, a phone call from Housing Options, the offer of a dispersed house in Ellesmere Port. A dispersed house is somewhere where you can stay temporarily while a decision is made about rehousing. It was a masonette. There was a flat below with a stone stairwell which took you up to the house. The carpets were dirty, all of the blinds had been cutting off, and the cooker wasn't even plumbed in. All these things were sorted, and something as simple as being able to cook felt amazing. We then used the washing machine. When we used the washing machine, the drain water would come up out of the sink, so I called Housing Repair straight away to inform them. This resulted in all the water being turned off, so for the next 24 days, I had to wash my clothes and dishes in the bathroom. We had to drink water from the bathroom as we weren't offered bottled water. The flat underneath was raided every week by the police, and me and the kids just didn't feel safe. I spoke to a parent from school who told me about the Poverty Truth Commission. I met up with Emma and we mentioned Save the Family. She reassured me that it was different from other homeless places I had ever seen before, so I decided to contact them. We are now staying at Save the Family, and I can say, does what it says on the tin. It saved my family. My children are happy and content, and I'm so proud of their resilience and compassion for others. However, I know that Lacey's first day of primary school and Tori's first day of high school are moments that I will never get back. At the first Poverty Truth Commission meeting, one of the other community inspirers asked me, and this was the first time I had really told my story to someone. This made me process what had actually happened to me and my kids, and the pain of what happened hit me. I am here today to share my story in the hope that someone is listening who can make a change and stop others from going through the pain that we did.